Welcome, Facebook friends. We are live here today. We have a special guest. We needed to bring some balance to our group today because, well, you know, when two A's get together, who knows what's going to happen. So I want to introduce first my partner in crime, Dr. Marianne Paget, and our special, amazing, certified coach and trainer with Bank, Carol Boston. So let's go around and do a little intro. So let's start with our guest today. Carol, say hello.
Hello, everybody. I'm excited to be here. And supposedly I'm going to bring some balance to the group. So this could be fun.
Either that or we're going to push you way off the deep end.
Can I say something, please? We were just joking around a minute ago, and I was finishing a story, and I'm talking fast, and I'm like, "Oh my god, yeah, so much!" And Carol's like, "Oh my gosh, like you two are so A," and I'm like, "I love it. This is perfect." We love Carol. All three of us are certified trainers, so see, you can be any personality and be a certified trainer with us. There you go.
Absolutely. We love them all. So what are we going to talk about today? Because, wow, if you would have seen behind the scenes, that would have been fascinating. That would have been a great conversation for this. We talked about eyebrows.
Why not talk about eyebrows?
Right? Face reading. We talked about watching that two A's on a call and watching that Carol's code is blueprint, nurturing, knowledge, action. She literally backed up. She was like, wow, a lot of A happening here. A lot of A. So
we felt a lot of energy throughout the day.
We do. You should have seen me. Yeah, yesterday I had a double espresso shot mixed with a bunch of coffee, and I was off the chart, Ray.
What are you talking about?
That's called a black eye. That's called a black eye at Starbucks. A double espresso inside a regular coffee is called a black eye because I'll get a red eye sometimes, and a red eye is one shot of espresso inside a cup of black coffee.
Okay, so is this a secret menu that's hidden somewhere? I've never seen this. You know how sometimes they have secret menus like at restaurants? Is this like a secret Starbucks secret?
Not to my knowledge, but maybe, I don't know.
I mean, is it on the board? Like you can...
I don't know that it's on the board, but if you walk in and say, I want a red eye or a black eye, they'll know what you're talking about.
All right, Facebook friends, I need to know what, I need to know who knows about the red eye and the black eye at the Starbucks. So right. I want to know who knows this secret. We talked about vacation secrets, me and Carol, and we had Dr. Marianne on me and Carol's show the other day, and we were talking about vacation secrets. So right now, we have been notified by Carol that there are a black eye and red eye at the Starbucks. So I want to know who knows what that is. And you know what? I'm going to take it one step further. If we get some comments, I'm going to pull someone's name and I'm going to send them a free set of bank cards. Oh, giveaway with a $25 gift certificate to Starbucks. Ha! Ha! What do we think about them apples?
That's what we do at in-person summits. Those are the two things we give away. So you want to come to those summits? We're going to give you some of that. I don't know where I'm pointing. Who cares?
It's funny that you say that. I was speaking at Nova Southeastern University a few years ago in front of a bunch of HR execs, and we had done some exercises and everything. And I was talking about how many of you actually ask your employees what a reward looks like to them. And then I look around. Well, what does a reward feel like to them, right? And I said, "Oh, I get it. You just give everybody a $10 Starbucks card, and you think they're happy." And they all started cracking up because that's what they do.
So, Carol, okay, so this is a great segue into how do you make your employees, your team, your family? How do you make people feel important or feel special? Or be recognized in a way that they appreciate. I had a friend, real estate agent, okay, code BNAK, right? And she got an award. Every year she got an award. And she hated it. She said, oh, another award. I'm just going to put this in my closet with the rest of them. Because it didn't speak to her values, right? So just like you said, like, how do you make your team and your employees feel confident? And I mean, feel like loved and appreciated, right? So Carol, what would be a great recognition prize for you?
Actually, when I was at my last job in corporate America, it's funny that you asked that. I was at Paychex in major markets, payroll and HR sales. And I got a new boss after about 4 years. And she was from out of industry, but she did something I had never had a boss in 22 years ever do. And she gave each one of us a private survey and asked us these types of questions. Now, at Paychex, when you qualified for what they call conference, there's conference, circle, and ice. I qualified every year except my very first year, right? You were forced to go to conference whether you wanted to go or not. You had to either be dead or dying. And I hated going to conference. So this boss actually asked about that in her survey. So when I went and had my one-on-one with her, she looked at me, she said, "You don't like going to Hawaii? You don't like going to the Bahamas?" Because they flipped it every year. I said, "It's not about where it is." I said, "I just don't like hanging around with 800 people who are drinking and doing things they would normally do at home."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "But if you'll let me stay here, just give me 50% of what you spend on airfare and hotel for me, and I'll cover everybody's territory. Nothing will fall to. I'd rather stay and work."
Wow.
Now, that year I qualified again, but guess what? I didn't have to go get some doctor's excuse or something. I didn't have to go.
Okay. All right. So
I felt totally heard.
There you go. All right. So Dr. Marianne, what fires you up? Well, like, what rewards and recognitions do you like?
Yeah, I love travel. And I'm in a company with the supplements that I sell and the skincare that you usually see behind me. Oh my gosh, that is my favorite gift. That is my favorite reward. And this company has, I have won 5 trips in 2.5 years so far. There's
Wow.
one more trip I'm working towards. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it. It's to Greece. So I'll be going to Maryland for the other conference that you know about, and then I'll be going straight from Maryland to Greece, and then from Greece I'm going to the Maldives because I'll be speaking in the Maldives. Now, if any of that changes, then that's out of my hands. But if the dates on that change, but that's what's happening in October for me. So that to me is like, are you kidding? Woo! 3 trips in one. However, I am going to say this. So I totally get what you're saying, Carol, because somebody wanted to give me one of those, from one of those companies where you give the free trips. And she goes, "Oh, I want to give you a trip." And I go, "I can't go on one more trip. Like, I have to stay at home and do some work. And I have babysitting issues with my dog. And like, I can only do so much. I have 7 trips planned this year. I can't take on not one more. So hold off, give it to me later because it's good for a year, right?" I said, "Give it to me later and then I can use it next year."
And look at just how different in our code is. Like, that's not something I want to go do. You asked me what a reward felt like to me. I think for me back then that day, I didn't like walking across the stages. I just wanted you to give me the money that I'd already earned.
There you go. Look.
Right?
Look at that. And when you speak, you're speaking from your code. Like, that's what I want, right? The A is like, I want the recognition. I want the trip. I want the money. Let's go. Let's have fun. I don't care how many trips. Like, I don't even know. I'm leaving Saturday. I'm going to New York. Then I'm going to Rhode Island. Then I'm going to Cape Cod for a week. I'm coming back for a week and I'm heading out to California. And then I don't know where we're going. So, and here's another thing. All right. So we already made plans to go to California, right? Mm-hmm. So we're out there until like a Saturday. John just found out that he needs to be in a meeting in San Francisco on Tuesday. So my little blueprint is like, well, that's a lot of time. And I would have to pack extra things. I didn't plan for this. And I was like, well, why don't we just stay there? Right? Why not stay in California for a few extra days?
Yeah.
What difference does it make? And he goes, "Oh no, I'm going to fly back on Saturday because we already have the flights booked. And then I'll fly to San Francisco on Monday." Really? Really? I would just stay, right?
So would I.
Spontaneously, let's just have fun. So it's so different when you start to see how people are wired and what, like, how they react to things, what they like, what they don't like. It changes everything.
So the last conference that was in California for bank, I couldn't make, and I really tried. Like, me and Michelle are talking, and the dates are exactly the same as my conference in Arizona. So I'm at a conference in Arizona, wanting to be in Arizona and California at the same time. I don't know what, and I can't accept the fact that I can't go. And so me and Michelle are thinking 25 different ways of how can I get there and spend like a day there and then fly back here. And I'm like, this is stupid. Just give it up, walk away, and be okay. But the FOMO is so bad that I can't let go. And I'm like, how do I do this? How do I do this? Finally had to let go. And obviously it wasn't going to happen because, and plus I had to be in Arizona. I was speaking on stage and accepting three awards. So 3 awards and speaking. That's 4 times I had to go on stage. Woohoo!
She's all fired up about that. All right, so let me ask you. So something that Marianne said was FOMO, right? We all know A's are all about the FOMO, right? So Carol, how do you feel about FOMO?
I don't have a lot of FOMO.
I think that's a mature
my
mind.
ex used to say to me, like, aren't you going to answer the phone? Doesn't it bother you that it's ringing? You're going to miss something. They'll call back or they'll leave a message. I don't have a lot of FOMO. I told you asked me, Carol, in California, Marianne, she asked me this. We were getting ready to do speed coding, right? So what kind of car do you drive, Carol? And I said, a Hyundai Genesis.
Oh,
and she said something. She didn't ask me how old it was at first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she asked me something. I said, oh, no, it's a 2010. I bought it in 2011 with only 8 miles on it. And she goes, well, so what do you like about that car? And everything that came out of my mouth was blueprint. It's safe. It's paid for.
Mm-hmm.
It's quiet. It's smooth.
It's paid for. Is that a blueprint thing? I have some blueprint then, because somebody asked me why I like my car, and I go, I mostly like it because, well, I like my car. Like it's a Ford Escape. I mean, it's a 2016, I think, or 15, or one of those years. And I bought it also. It still had the new car smell in it when I bought it, and it was 3 years old. Some older lady was driving it, which means she drove it for 5 minutes every other month. And it was like brand new when I got it. I was like, and my mechanic, he has a space, so he sells some cars. He goes, this is a good car for you, because him and his wife used to be my clients when I had my spa, so we have a really good relationship. He's been my mechanic for like 24 years, so he knows. He goes, I'm not going to sell you anything crappy, because if I do, I know you'll be right there bothering me with it every day. So he won't sell me some whatever. Anyway, so I love it. And I'm like, oh my God, my favorite thing about my car is that it's paid for. I don't have a car payment. I don't have a lease. I don't have anything, which is rare because I've always had a lease. I've always written it off, or whatever. Right. And I'm like, oh,
but for you, that's freedom. That is an A thing.
So
my car.
That's an A thing.
So I could never get a lease. I had leases back in the day, but I can't have a lease because now I don't drive it. Well, I shouldn't say that. I drive more now, but so leases make me feel like I'm boxed in. Like, you can only drive so many miles. And I'm like, well, that's no fun. What if I want to drive more miles than that? Right. So, and the reason I have my car, which is a brand new Bronco, right? It's
like the Broncos.
Gorgeous. The top goes down. They have these excursions that you can go on. Like, so you can Utah, Vegas, where else?
You need to move to the States.
Tennessee. Oh my gosh. So you can go on all these excursions, right? They have like one of the top chefs down there. They cook for you. You get all these fun things. You get to go off-roading, like so much fun. And so, I had a Jeep for years, and I went and I saw John was trying to talk me into getting a Bronco. And I was like, this is way nicer. Like, it's beautiful. It's so much more comfortable. It's got more room. It rides nicer. I got like the best of the best. I got a silver one, which is so unlike me. Usually it's black or white, but it was the only one that had heated seats, and that was non-negotiable. So it had all the things I wanted, and I didn't want to wait to get a different one. So I was like, I'll just take this one. I won't have it that long anyway. So
Exactly.
Well, the only reason I think I still have this car is just because it is fully paid for. And also during 2020 and even 2021, there wasn't any driving here. Canada was very strict with its COVID protocols. I really didn't go very much, like anywhere. It was like, and my mechanic's looking at it. He goes, how come the mileage is not as crazy as yours usually is? Because I always have out of town properties to sell. So of course you got to go back and forth a lot. And I go, well, we haven't been able to go anywhere. What do you like? Oh, he goes, oh yeah, I forgot. And then all of a sudden now he's like, oh, there it is. There it is. You're approaching 200. And I go, yeah, but I'm not ready. He goes, your car, he goes, you do a really good job of taking good care of your car. Like I have very regular oil changes. I'm very particular. I clean it on the inside. I have it cleaned on the outside because condo, I'm not getting the hose out and all of that business, right? I just go to the car wash.
Okay, so my son, Blueprint Knowledge, right? Okay, so he had a Jeep Renegade. Got it for him when he was in school, high school. He's had it for years and years. And the other day he had texted me and he was like, Mom, I think it's time. And I was like, what just happened, right? I think it's time. And he called the car Kyle. And he was like, I think Kyle's done. Like, I was like, okay, all right. So what's going on, right? So go through this whole thing. So anyway, he comes in. We get him a new car. It's a Ford EcoSport. And then, yeah, it's super cute, right? Anyway, like it's small like the Renegade. And because he was concerned. He was used to the small compact car and like how short, how you could see the front end and things like that. So he's looking at all the safety and all of these things. What's the warranty? Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so he goes back and he's coming back in this past weekend. And so he was like, I got to tell you, I was completely freaked out. I was like, because it was a new car, right? So he was like, I started doing all this research. I was worried about the safety ratings. I was looking at what people were saying. I went to Reddit. Why'd you go to Reddit? Right? I'm like, why? Why would you go to Reddit? People just complain on Reddit. He was like 50% of the people said it's good. 50% said it's bad. I was like, oh my God. Right?
That's normal, isn't it?
Yeah. So all in all, he drove in from Philly, safe trip in, safe trip back, but he literally looked at all the safety ratings and all the reviews and all the comments and researched the car because it was not his old car and it was changed. And so I was just cracking up. I was like, wow, that is so Blueprint Knowledge. So Blueprint Knowledge. But it made total sense. I was like, I used to get a new car and I would just drive it, right? And there's like a break-in period where you have to wait till you get over like 500 miles before you like gun it.
Mm-hmm.
Carol's like, yes.
I didn't know that.
Right? Carol's like, yes, that's the rules, right? Well, I never did that. I was like, why wait? You got to blow the carbon out. Who knows? Right? So John got a new truck and he was driving it all like cautiously and whatever. I was like,
let's go.
And we're coming back from New York and he's like, how many miles is it again? I think it's 500 or 1,000 miles before you break the car in and you can like actually give it a little more gas. And I was like,
what?
Yes, that's correct.
I didn't know that was a thing. I'm just hearing this for the first time ever.
Oh no, it's definitely.
Well, I shouldn't say I'm hearing it. Maybe I heard it and ignored it.
I had a very blueprint father. And so he would always say, when you get a new car, you've got to wait 500 miles before you actually give it gas and drive it normally.
Is that the way he said it, Michelle? Was that the voice?
It was more like, you have to wait 500 miles. You have to break the car in. So, okay, funny story. So the first cars I had was a Camaro. Okay. It was an old Vito Camaro. Like it shimmied at 35, right? I was like, ugh. So I would take a while to get the gas going. So one of my friends taught me how to do a 180, right? By pulling the emergency brake. And so I would go to this parking lot and I would just nail it. And then I'd pull the emergency brake and we'd like whoosh, fly around. And I was like, this is so much wee, right? So I had to go for an oil change. You take the Camaro and they put it up on the lift. The emergency brake cable was literally like this. It was hanging there. And the tires were literally like worn on sides they shouldn't have been, right? And the mechanic was like,
what have you
been doing? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, do you see this emergency cable? It's not supposed to look like that. I was like, well, that's interesting.
Oh.
Not sure what happened.
I've been doing donuts.
That was so much fun. And so, yeah, so my Blueprint older son busted my younger son the other day and said, I guess I can tell you this now, but Matt used to go into the Sheetz parking lot and do donuts and like all these. And I start laughing. And I'm like, wow, he's just like me.
I was just gonna say, proud mama. You did well.
Yeah, right. I was like, yeah, Matt. Right. And of course Jay was like, well, I'm gonna tell on him because I can and I follow the rules, and Jay does and Matt does not.
And what is the other son then? What is he? I know this one's KB or BK.
Oh, Matthew's AK.
AK.
Yeah.
Oh, AK. Still AK.
He's my little AK.
AK.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I have a friend that's a K. KKK. I'm like, I constantly tell him he's a K. He's either a KA, but he thinks he's AK, but he's not. And I go, you're not an AK. I'm a freaking A. You don't know. A is not what you are. Okay. What you are is a K. We're talking, blah, blah, blah. And I go, I'm from Toronto on this Zoom. And he goes, and he's messaging, you're not from Toronto. And I go, okay. I'm literally like maybe, I don't know, if I had to be honest, a good 5 minutes driving from Toronto border. And I live in a place called Mississauga. He lives an hour and a bit away from me. So he's like nowhere near Toronto. And I'm like, you're just jealous.
Okay. So Marianne, I got to ask a question. All right, Carol. So when somebody asks you how far, what's the distance from one place to another? What is your answer? Do you actually look and like give them like, oh, it'll take you about an hour and a half, depending on traffic? Because that's what John would do. He'd look it up on Waze and be like, it's going to take you this long. Like, or do you just like give them a roundabout?
Well, like somebody recently said, I'm going to be in Orlando. How far is that from you? Well, I kind of know. So I said, oh, it's about 3.5, 4 hours, depending on traffic. And it depends on what side of Orlando you're on. Right. So I don't go look it up and say it's 223 miles. And
right. Okay. Right. But the Blueprint, you got the distance, right? So where I live, and I've done this since like for as long as I can remember, when people would say, well, how far is Pittsburgh? I'd be, 25 minutes. They'd be like, how far is whatever? 25 minutes. So everything I would tell, like, everything was 25 minutes, right? So like, and I don't know. I mean, I made it that way. I pretty much drove as fast as I could, and everything was 25 minutes for me. For a normal person, it might have taken like 45 minutes. But anyway, so it was like this whole thing when John and me first started dating, where he'd like ask me how far something was. 25 minutes. And then it would take like 45, and he'd be like, I thought you said it was 25 minutes. And I was like, I mean, so that's why I asked you if you actually gave like.
How far is Harmony, Pennsylvania from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? This is what I do.
Test me.
31 minutes. Okay. So the first time I asked Michelle, I said, how far is Harmony from Pittsburgh? 45 minutes. The next time I asked her, it was 30 minutes. And now she's saying 25 minutes. So I'm not really sure. It probably varies according to traffic. And I'm like, okay.
It varies on my day as
This
well.
is how I do it. I can't like, and typing, I don't know. I just don't have the patience for typing. So this is the best thing that's ever been invented. How far is this? When I was looking the other day for houses in Pittsburgh, I'm like, how far is this Donora place from Harmony? I'm always like, how far is this from Michelle? How far is this from Michelle? And then you said you were going to move. And I'm like, where the hell are you moving to? You can't move out of Harmony. All my questions are related to Harmony.
Well, and Harmony is a cool little town. It really
Yeah.
is.
And
It
who
really
would want to move away from Harmony? I want to move. I want to live in Harmony.
We all want to live in Harmony.
Harmony's
We
beautiful.
got like 4 people on. I don't know who they are. Say hi to us. We love people to say hello.
Yes, and
play
give
along
give
with
StreamYard permission and give us some comments so we can see your comments.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be fantastic. I can't see anything.
Here's
You know,
Carol.
back to what you were saying about rewards. I was speaking at Ryder Trucking and Logistics to 60 marketing executives. And somewhere in my talk, I talked about how people liked options. And I must have talked about it for a little while. Anyway, my talk is over. She had asked me to stay for the day. And so I turn around and she's got these little bags, a bunch of little bags on the podium now that I took my stuff off the podium. And she walks up, she's the vice president, and she looks at me and she says, okay, Carol, I heard you. So she was going to give away awards. So normally what does she do? What's in every one of those bags? A $50 Amex. Every one of those bags had a $50 Amex, which for most of us, I never got one that nice in corporate America. And she said, but I'm going to give them a choice. So she said, when I call your name for your award, you have a choice. You can either take this $50 Amex or you can have a day off on me. Everybody took the day off. Everybody. Very expensive for her. But the fact that she was brave enough to just step up and go, okay, I'm going to see how this works. Everybody took the day off. Which,
Wow.
that's more than $50, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I would
So
take the day off.
Yeah. Next time she'll plan ahead and not offer something quite so nice.
All right. Well, we are almost out of time. It's like it's been 30 minutes and it went just like that.
It did.
It's been fun. So what's the final words for today?
A car would be a really great gift too.
Well, you know, when
Travel and
when
car.
Codebreaker was giving away the Lamborghini, you know, that's still on the table, that prize. I was like, Lamborghini? That has been my dream car since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't win it?
Not yet.
My first car was a Mustang, so I already had like one of my dream cars, right? And then my first boyfriend had a Camaro, like you did, or Firebird. Which what was it called? Are those the two that look the same? Firebird.
Yes.
And it was one of those. And then my second boyfriend, who was really my favorite for the longest time, he drove an Alfa Romeo, and then a Porsche, and then an Alfa Romeo. So I've had some pretty cool boyfriends and cars.
Wow, very nice.
Those are good. I actually saw an Alfa Romeo, what do you call it, SUV? Oh, they're nice. That whole Alfa and that little Alfa Romeo little thing, their sign, their logo, whatever that goes on the car. I'm like, I just slap one of those over my Ford and see what happens. And pretend I have a new car.
There you go.
Too funny. So,
Final words, Carol.
I want you to remind them of what you offered at the beginning, because I want to see somebody take you up on it. The $25 Starbucks and the cards.
Yeah. So
Offer that again.
okay.
And final words, if you've been here listening to us and you're curious about what bank is and the impact it can make, not only in your business, but in your life, DM one of these beautiful ladies or put a comment and they'll reach out to you, because Nelson Mandela said that when you speak to them in a language they understand, they hear it with their head. But when you speak to them in their language, they hear it with their heart. And that is exactly what we teach you to do.
I love that, Carol. You're
so good.
awesome. Isn't she lovely?
She is. Carol's the best.
She totally like balanced us out. We're a little calmer now. At the beginning, Carol was talking a little faster than she usually does. I don't know if anyone noticed. So she was blending in with us, and now we've kind of blended. And isn't that the way life should be?
It is. It's total harmony.
Yep.
We should all get along. We should all just get along and respect and appreciate each other. Because if we were all the same, oh my gosh.
Boring.
Imagine, as much as I love being an A and I'm happy being an A, can you imagine if we were all A's? We'd all be jumping out of Jack in the Boxes all day long and inhaling helium balloons and speaking weird stuff and blowing bubbles. I used to bring me bubbles to work where at this office where I used to be a recruiter, because they knew if we're going to have a party, the way I'm going to have fun is if I blow bubbles. You know, with like one of those things. Yes, one of those things that kids get. Yes, people, don't question it too much. Simple. That's what it is. That's what I like. So there.
It's funny that you say that, because I told Michelle not too long ago, my ex used to say to me, "We're just so different."
Yeah.
And I always responded with, "Well, that's a good thing, because if we were exactly alike, one of us wouldn't be necessary."
And also, how boring would it be? Like,
It would be boring.
Could you imagine? Wow.
And I do have a quiet side. I mean, you know what? I think the desire to be somewhat B and K is why I do meditation, because I need to calm down, because otherwise it's like,
Well, when you look at this, Carol's probably going to be exhausted when she gets off this call. She's like, I need a nap. Like, I need to regroup. This has been a lot, right?
I'm thinking I got to get on a networking Zoom in 20 minutes. I got to have energy.
So when you look at that, like, it's a real thing, right?
Mhm.
So start to really see the world for, you know, not judging anymore and loving more and being able to connect, communicate, and make this world a better place. And that's what we do, because Code Breakers, our mission is to connect and empower humanity. And well, we love you all. God bless. Thanks for being here, and we will see you soon. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bang.
Oops.